Look at verse 25. The next thing he says is, we only have a couple minutes and I want to get through all these because he goes all the way through a succession. In verse 25, he says, "The Lord is good to those who wait for Him." In our often frantic lifestyle, God promises blessings to those that wait for Him. Now, I could tell you stories about how much I wanted to meet Bonnie. You know, my parents fought every day I ever remember living at home. My parents fought. My parents never got along. They screamed and yelled, threw things at each other. They'd lock each other out the doors. My dad would knock my mom down on the floor, and then my mom would do stuff. It was terrible, terrible. My dad's method of discipline was he would grab me by the neck and hold me up with my little feet dangling off the floor, and he'd push me against the wall, and he'd squeeze my neck, and he'd say, "If you do that again, I'll break your neck," and he'd drop me to the floor. That's an effective discipline. I was petrified and scared. So the one thing I knew is I did not want to be married to anybody in a situation like my parents had. So that made me very uncertain about marriage. And so when I got to Bob Jones University, the world's largest Christian university with 7,200 students and 3,600 of them were girls, I dated 700 of them. Once. I wouldn't, in 8 years, I went out with 700 girls one time. No long-term deal for me. Because I didn't want anybody throwing plates at me and screaming. And I didn't want to have my eyes bulging and squeeze their neck. So I just didn't want to get married. And I remember the one prayer I used to pray. I'd walk at night and I'd say, "Lord, I can make lots of mistakes in life, buy the wrong car, take the wrong class, but don't let me marry the wrong person. Because I don't want to go through what I saw my whole life." And so when I was praying that, look back at verse 25. The Lord is good to those who wait for Him. And I won't tell you the boring story about how I met Bonnie, but it was wonderful. The Lord just had people calling me and saying, "You should ask her out." And I resisted. And finally I said yes. And the first time I saw her, when she opened the door of her apartment, she was a faculty member. I was an administrator. She was a faculty member. And she lived in campus housing. And she opened the door. And I looked at her. And you know what I said inside? And I was smart enough not to say it out loud. I said, "You're who I prayed for my whole life to meet." First time I saw her. Do you know why? Because I waited on the Lord, and the Lord is good to those who wait for Him. By the way, you want a good study? The word wait, it's one English word. But you'll find there are 8 different Hebrew words for wait. All translated by one English word. When you read wait, "They that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength," or "wait patiently for the Lord," there are 8 different Hebrew words, all translated by one English word. Do you know what? God has words for waiting quietly, waiting sorrowfully, waiting patiently, waiting humbly, waiting laying on your face and quaking. There's all kinds of waits with God. He loves waiting. He has 8 different inspired words for waiting. This word is a wonderful word. It means waiting for the Lord to provide. And it's very hard. I was thinking about that as I was driving over here this morning early. Do you ever have one of those people that will scream by you on the highway? I was coming up 131, and I was kind of dawdling coming off of Center Street. And, it says go 35. I go 35, and then get, and speed up and get on. You don't try and burn your tires around those curves. This guy was just right on my bumper. I mean, you ever have one of those people that just they're looking into your car. They're so close. And as soon as they could, they squealed around and they just took off. Must have been going 95 down 131. So I just tootle along and I get up to Stadium and all the traffic. You know how you have to wait sometimes because so many cars are coming? There was that car. I have to confess that I went a little forward so he could see my car. And you know what? He squealed again and took off. And I thought, he doesn't know anything about waiting. We don't like to wait for anything. But you know what God says? He says, look back at this. The Lord is good to those who hupo meno. Hupo means under, meno means to abide. It's the same word from those that wait upon the Lord. It's also the same word that's used in the New Testament. Meno is the word to abide. The Lord is good to those who will abide under His timing. And it says, He is good to those who wait for Him, to the soul who seeks Him. God says, I want you to be selective. Say, I want your way, and I want you to be responsive to me. He said, there's no limit to what I will do for you. Verse 26, he continues. Verse 27, on through, and he ends in verse 33. But basically this. Jeremiah had a horrible life. God says, in your horrible life, I'm faithful. I was there all the time. And God says, I want you to stop squealing through life and trying to get around everything that's an impediment to you. I want you to wait for me. And to wait patiently for me as I freshly open myself to you. Did you know the Lord is closer when He is pruning our life than any other time? When you're going through troubles, trials, struggles, God feels distant. He's actually right there. And that's what He wants us to know.